Oh, Linda, property tax assessment time. It's, well, tax time in general. People are all thinking about it. And before you tune out if you don't own a home, the shifting sands of property value definitely impacts renters as well. So, but it can be a very confusing time with assessments.
It can be, and a lot of people are going, oh gosh, are my taxes going up? Well, we know who has the most expensive property in Burnaby. But it's not really a surprise. It's superstar Michael Bublé. I think that Chip Wilson, formerly of Lululemon, has the most expensive property.
Yes, he does.
So can you imagine how much tax they're paying?
Or deferring, because you can defer your taxes if you're over 55.
Yeah, but because of the interest rates, the whole sort of market has calmed down a little bit. So prices are really flattening out right across the province right now. And so that's kind of good news. But the municipalities still need to collect a certain amount of money. So they're going to get it somehow, and it all sort of works out. But if you're confused, we thought we should bring someone in.
Yes, we have help. His name is Paul Sullivan, and he can navigate us through taxes and properties. It's what you specialize in, Paul. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, pleasure to be here.
Can you tell us, first of all, just about this idea that people are confused? If your property value goes up, you think, oh my gosh, my taxes are sure to go up because of it. It's not really how it works.
Well, not exactly. So if your property changes at the average change, then you're only going to experience the municipal budget change. And as we heard in Vancouver, that's 7.5% this year.
Right.
But if your property value changes above the average, let's say you're 10% above the average, then you're going to get a disproportionate increase in taxes for both the budget change and the amount you're above the average. So that 10% would make you a 17.5% tax change. So it's all about the average and whether you're above or below it.
And this assessment that's just dropped, and people can go online and look at assessments all over the place, all over the province, and check out Michael Bublé's really expensive place in Burnaby. But this assessment is not about this tax year, right? It's last year's assessment that impacts this, or is it?
That's right, yeah. So it's the valuation date is July 1st, preceding the tax year. And then just to add a little complication, it's the physical condition on October 31st. So if you were building a house, say, you would look at what's in place at October 31st, but what it's worth on July 1st. So they always lag the market, which in a rising market's great for the taxpayer, and a declining market's not so fun.
So let's talk about two things. I mean, when I looked on mine, my condo went up a little bit. And just because I was snooping around, seeing about my neighbors, some of them went up about the same as mine. Some of them went down, which makes no sense. We're all in the same building, have same size suites. So if you wanted to appeal, how do you do that? And then we'll talk about deferring those taxes altogether. So tell us about the appeals, first of all. How complicated is that?
Well, you did the right thing. That's do your homework. And so in British Columbia, you get the lesser of market value or equity. So market value is looking at sales comparables, which you can find on BC Assessment's website, and making sure you're fairly valued relative to the sale prices. But let's say all your neighbors are assessed at $100,000 less, irregardless of your property being worth more. You're then an equity case, and you can file an appeal based on equity, saying, I want an assessment the same as my neighbors. So market value or equity, you want to file an appeal, you go into BC Assessment's website. It's very easy to do. But before you do all that, do your homework, call BC Assessment, see if you can negotiate a change before you put yourself through the trouble of filing that appeal.
And let's now talk about the deferral piece of this puzzle. A lot of people don't realize that they can defer their property tax.
You can. You need to make sure you still have equity in your home, which is starting to be more and more difficult as all your expenses are rising. We had a 15% increase in the number of people deferring their property taxes last year. We're over 70,000 people in British Columbia deferring their taxes. It's hundreds of millions of dollars they're adding to this pot every year. And it's not that you're not going to have to pay. That's going to come out of your property when you sell it or out of the estate. It's not a cheap interest rate either. We're up at 6.95%. So it's probably fairly equivalent, if not higher than your mortgage rate. So it's not a lot of fun either. The issue is, taxes just keep going up.
There was a story in the Vancouver Sun just the other day where some people are questioning, why are they not doing means testing with people who want to defer the taxes? Would you agree with that?
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe there's some merit to that. As we read, they do it for rent relief, and maybe they could do it for home ownership. I guess my problem with that is I just don't think we need to keep putting more money in the pockets of government. I don't want to see another $350 million going to the government. I think we're just growing the bureaucracy. So I think we need to come up with less taxes, more affordable homes, and strategies to get to affordability, which, deferring taxes is not helping.
Let's talk a little bit about the grant piece of the property tax process, giving homeowner grants. Our colleague Rob Shaw wrote an article that came out today about how those grants are actually adding up to $1 billion with a B dollars for this province. Where do you see things going? Would it be political suicide to try and end the homeowner grant?
Well, it's not going to be popular. It'd be like, making selling your home taxable. You probably
Right.
wouldn't win the next election either. So, it was brought in a time when property values were escalating rapidly. Maybe there's more predictability in the market, and it's less important today. I think homeowners are always looked at as someone that they can pluck money from, and I think that's over. They've added the additional school tax to property values, and they talk about this $2.2 million threshold value. That's land value of the smallest properties in Vancouver. It's
Yeah.
not really a substantial amount to most of the taxpayers.
Plus, we can't forget the government has clawed in billions in the property transfer tax because property values have skyrocketed. So the government's getting its fair share of our tax dollars. Paul, we got to leave it at that. But thank you so much for walking us through some of the kind of key parts about the assessment process. We really appreciate it.
Hey, pleasure to be on the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Paul
Hey,
Sullivan.
Yeah, I mean, we got to keep our finger on the pulse there, and we will continue to cover it on Steel and Bands. Still to come. What the hell is wrong with people? Linda, it did not take
No,
a holiday.
never
It
does.
did not. That's still to come.
And next, a Victoria woman is using 50s fashion to start conversations about loneliness and isolation in BC. Molly Kay joins the show next.
And now, of course, viewing party time. Here are some of you sending us your pictures. Keith in North Van.
We have Randy in Sook.
Sheila and Petals from Parksville. Look at Petals. Aw.
And Shelley in West Vancouver.
Hey, Shelley. Love it. Okay, we are going to make a draw to win a $150 gift card from Romer's Steamship. You can get in for next week. Viewing party at checkmedia.ca.